Shalom, everyone, and welcome back. We were just in New York for a few weeks celebrating the birth of my newest granddaughter, and it was wonderful being with family and with my children and with my grandchildren, as all of us really have tremendous nachas when we see our children, we spend time with them. And that brings to mind this week's Torah portion of Vayechi, where Yaakov gives the blessings to his children. And we are told that he gives the blessings that when daughters, or you give a blessing to a daughter, you say, Yisimech Elokim, may God make you Kesara, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, with our matriarchs, with Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. We bless our children on Friday night using that blessing. But when it comes to our sons, we don't use the patriarchs. We should say similarly for the sons, God should bless you like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But we don't. What do we say? God should bless you. God should make you Ephraim u'Menashe, like Ephraim and Menashe, who are the two sons of Joseph. Why is it that for the girls we say the matriarchs, but for the boys we do not say the patriarchs, but rather we say the grandchildren? That we are really more interested in the grandchildren even than the children. Why is that? It's a very odd thing. So there are a few reasons why we could give it. One of the reasons is that we are very, very interested in continuity. Continuity for Jews is extremely important. We want to make sure that not only are we following the ways of our faith, not only are our children going to follow the ways of our faith, but even our grandchildren as well. And they're really the ones we're the most concerned about, if you think about it. Because after all, the children are simply one generation away from us. So they were the ones who were directly connected with us, and they were influenced by us the closest. But our grandchildren are one more generation further away after that. So we would be more concerned about the grandchildren. If the grandchildren turn out okay, then we can be assured that Judaism will be continued in the future. A story is told. A story is told, a true story about a meeting that took place among the early space pioneers of NASA many years ago. And in this meeting, there was a very notable scientist named Dr. Vilvel Green, who passed on recently. And he tells the story that they were talking about plans for the future, in the distant future. And in fact, they said, okay, space travel will be available pretty soon. And we know that even 1969, man went to the moon. We're starting to plan for new trips to the moon in the next few years ahead. But they were thinking even beyond that, further beyond that, after that. And they were thinking maybe even there'll be a time that we will be able to send a spaceship to the nearest star, to Alpha Centauri, the nearest star in the universe. And they thought, what will be involved with sending man to the nearest star? Well, they'll have to make provisions, a special spacecraft, and they will need to put their astronauts, both men and women, who will procreate on the spaceship, because once the spaceship leaves, it'll take hundreds, maybe 1,000 years to get there. And then they'll have to get back if they ever get back. And certainly one generation, two or three or more generations won't do it. So they'll need to have many more generations on the spaceship. And there were different issues involved. What are they going to eat? Well, they'll plant food on the spaceship. What are they going to drink? They'll recycle water on the spaceship. There'll be many things. They felt that they would be able to do it. But then they came to a problem. And the problem was, this is what's going to happen. The first generation will remember Earth, and they will know exactly what the mission was and how to perform the mission and who sent them and where they're going. The second generation will hear from the first generation firsthand. They'll tell them what life was like on Earth. I was there. I lived on Earth. I met the people who sent us on the mission and exactly what the mission is, and I know it firsthand. The third generation, on the other hand, will be so removed from Earth and from the first generation that they may sort of lose track of the mission itself and the purpose of the mission, but probably they would. But there will be eventually, they felt, one generation, years from then, that will come along and say, you know what? We don't know that there's really a mission. How do we know there was a mission? Does anybody here on the spaceship meet anyone who sent anyone on that mission? It was generations ago. And how do we know that there even is a mission? And perhaps we were all born on this spaceship, and perhaps we were created on the spaceship. Perhaps there is no Earth at all. And the bleeps that we're getting from Earth, supposedly, are really nothing. They don't mean anything. And maybe we've been going on this direction for hundreds of years and it's got us nowhere. Maybe we should change direction. So they thought, well, we'll change direction very slightly and we won't go very far away from it, but with a little bit of different change, and maybe that'll get us to where we should go. But you know, if you're going in a straight line towards a destination and you change that direction ever so slightly over a long distance, you'll miss the mark entirely. And they felt that that would be what would happen. That eventually there will be a generation that was not on Earth, that never met anybody from Earth, and only read about these things or took it for granted, and it doesn't even exist. And the mission will fail as a result of it. So, what does this whole story tell us? That the important thing is not our generation, the important thing are future generations, and especially our grandchildren. Our children grew up in our home. Our children know what the purpose is and what our mission is and what we're supposed to do to observe the Torah and mitzvahs and follow God's ways. But maybe the grandchildren might lose track of that mission. And as a result of it, the whole mission will fail. So that's why when we bless our children, our sons, we should bless them according to Ephraim and Manasseh, the grandchildren, not the children, so that they will not lose track of that mission. And that should be an important lesson for all of us, that we should not lose track of the mission that God sent us on, even though it's been 2,000 or 3,000 years since we were originally sent out from Sinai. But nevertheless, we are almost there. We have almost got there. Mashiach is on his way. And because of that, we should not lose track at the very end. We'd like to wish a mazel tov to the Menkel family and the birth of their new son. God willing, the bris will be this coming week. Please stay tuned for information. Mazel tov, of course, to my family on the birth of my new granddaughter. And we want to wish a mazel tov to the Curiel family on the engagement of their daughter Adar to Zev Feder from Stamford, Connecticut, and which I was pleased to attend the L'chaim, the engagement party for in New York. Candlelighting tonight will be in San Diego will be at 4:39. And I want to wish you all a good Shabbos.